7, 9, and 4, welcome back to the library. I am the recorder, and in this entry of Intro to the Realms, we are going to have the next in my rambles about time and how it operates in the realms of Jam'mar. As previously promised, we will be covering the various kinds of timelines that exist in the realms, those being core, parallel, and alternate, as well as the concept of the prime timeline. We will finish with a quick look at paradoxes, which are often created by the interactions between different kinds of timeline. Perceptive patrons, regular visitors, and new guests of the library. As before, I intend to make this a brief look into these rather complex ideas. This is to build a foundation of understanding, so that as we cover those parts of Realms history in which these concepts arrive, there is hopefully less confusion. As always, if there are any questions or further thoughts, be sure to make your voice heard. That said, let us begin with the idea of the core timeline. Simply put, it is the timeline from which one is from. All one's choices, actions, and reactions are what create their core timeline, as well as many parallel and possibly even alternate timelines. But we shall get to that in a bit. The vast majority of people who travel or go across time will never leave their core timeline, merely moving back and forth within it. Closely tied to the idea of a core timeline is that of the prime timeline, where the core timeline is subjective to each individual, and what relative timeline they are to the prime they find themselves in. The prime timeline is singular and objectively the center of temporal arrangement and flow. The reasons for this are many and complex, but most easily summed up as the prime timeline is the one that will last the longest, due to both the concepts of temporal conversion and the temporal density of the prime timeline. All of the tales and history we follow are centered on and based from the prime timeline, and only a scant few beings in all the realms are actually from anything but the prime timeline. So, for most purposes, one can say that the core timeline is the prime timeline, as to quell confusion and make things a bit easier. Now, relative to the core prime timeline, parallel and alternate timelines are those that are created by variations in choice or chance that have some significance in difference resulting from the divergence. The distinguishment between the two, alternate and parallel, being the degree of difference, how many affected, and how long the difference echoes across time. In most cases, choices and chance only have effects lasting a short while on the greater events and actions of the worlds, and thus on the long enough scale of time, the weight of most choices and chance is insignificant, bringing the parallel timeline to its end. When this happens to the variant timelines, parallel timelines will harmonize with its core spawning timeline, and the temporal energy will be reabsorbed to maintain the flow and integrity of the core timeline. This is the reason that it is a common occurrence that many will remember an event from their past slightly different than other people who were there, with everyone assured in their accuracy of their own recounting. In reality, each is remembering their own personal core timeline version of the event, and generally again, so long as the variance is only superficial in significance, none will really be able to tell which way it actually was. Alternate timelines function much the same as parallels, But the point of divergence resulted in not only a timeline that varies wildly from the core timeline in some wide-reaching and significant manner, but also had enough temporal stability within itself and its distinctiveness to begin to create its own parallel timelines. On this, it should be noted, no matter the skill of a temporal manipulator, one can only act with parallels spawned from one's own core timeline. Those from an alternate timeline can interact with their own parallels, but not the parallels of the prime or core timeline. These variant timelines tend to be quite dangerous. As per the idea of temporal conservation, they can only exist so long as the divergent event continues to hold its significance and variance to the core timeline from which it spawned. This means that if some reason it becomes true that an alternate or parallel timeline would end up in a state very similar or too similar to that of the core timeline, it will face two possibilities. The first of which is known as temporal dissolution, where the variant timeline simply breaks apart, no able longer to sustain its distinct flow. This will see the events and history of that timeline forgotten and lost, perhaps to be recalled in far-reaching dreams of other timelines, if ever. This is also known as being consigned to the void. The second is what will happen or can happen to both parallel and alternate timelines when they become paradoxical or otherwise unstable and incompatible beyond a certain point. Temporal sealing. In the rare cases that time cannot realign or reshuffle itself to preserve events within itself, the entire parallel or alternate timeline will instead be excised from the flow of time and into a form of temporsis solidified, either temporal dust, a shard, or most rarely of all, a gem of temporsis. Contained within the new form is the energy and potential of the sealed timeline, and it is usable for temporal manipulations by those with the skill and training to do so. Dust is by far the most common, created most often by parallel timelines that are incompatible with the core timeline, being unable to harmonize with it. It is, in fact, the shattered remnants of those timelines, and as the originating timeline no doubt was, temporal dust is unstable and consumed when it is used. Shards and gems are formed when an alternate timeline is similarly unable to harmonize with the core timeline after having its point of divergence altered or otherwise prevented. Like the timeline that birthed them, they are now contained by them. They are stable and thus reusable by those who possess them. The relative size as well as its stability of the timeline will determine if the shard or a gem is created, with less stable timelines creating shards as opposed to a unified gem. No matter the form taken by these now contained and expunged timelines, it will manifest in the plane of temporsis, and can be discovered, collected, and utilized by those few who can access that plane. This requires a full gem of temporsis, by the way. However, the vast majority of these will be found and then consumed by the only known life form to originate from and live in the plane of temporsis, known simply as the Diphilii. These creatures swim the tides of time, seeking out paradoxical energies to consume, with the broken down energies being returned to the beginning of time's flow from which they spawned. As such, they act to maintain the integrity of the total of time's flow, with only those properly trained in how to conceal their temporal signature able to avoid their gaze or attention. Of course, this is one of the basic skills that confirms one is more than just a time traveler. A skill which all time walkers, lords of Temporsis, and of course Chrono Kame have mastered to a subconscious degree, for their own safety and for those around them. Before we wrap this quick ramble up, it should be noted that some events are universally occurring across all timelines, and while the details may differ, these events will have manifested in each and every variant of known time. The summoning of Vanson and his reign, as well as the conflict between the elder races of Dragon and Analar, are the most notable of these events. Certain individuals are similarly guaranteed to have existed in each timeline as well, for a variety of reasons that quickly get quite confusing. Simply put, some individuals have such an impact on time that their presence in all timelines is assured. Now, this only means a version of them existed in each, and by no means any guarantees or similarity to the core prime timeline version of them. And this is where I'm going to wrap up this ramble on the nature of timelines and paradoxes, and their function within the realms. As stated, this is but a surface level look at these ideas and concepts, so if there are any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask. You can do so, of course, in the comments below by tweeting me at @MasterGryphon, that's @Master_Griffin, or by becoming a supporter at Gryphon'sLibrary.locals.com. Any and all questions will be used to form content in regards to these more intricate topics, as well as the general tone and flow of things. Again, my perceptive patrons, regular visitors, and of course, new guests of the library, I look forward to continuing to explore and share the realms of Jam'mar with you, and I am so grateful for your time, your interest, and of course, your support of Gryphon's Library and the Realms of Jam'mar. Thank you. For now, and until you next find your way back to the library for another entry of Intro to the Realms, I, as always, have been the Recorder. And by the 9 and 4, be well, take care of yourselves and each other. If you'd like to contribute to the further exploration and explanation of the realms, please consider leaving a comment, a like, and sharing the video around. I read all the comments and make efforts to reply to each. Thank you for helping to grow the channel, and know I look forward to each and every one of your comments. Other methods of support can be found in the channel's description. Thank you for watching,